What's going on, everybody? Cheers. Happy Wednesday or whatever day of the week it is when you're watching this. And for some of you, if you're watching this live, happy Valentine's Day for whatever that's worth. Welcome to the With Her Two Hands podcast, where each week we celebrate the women who build, fix, and make the things that make the world go round with her own two hands. I am your host, Bogi, and I am a master auto mechanic by trade. And this series obviously is about celebrating all of the different hands-on trades. But tonight, I am super excited that my guest is also a master mechanic and also a BMW master mechanic. In fact, she works at the dealership that I got my first dealership job at way back in the day. So this is going to be a good one. I'm really excited to meet her. She is seriously a boss lady, and I think you guys are going to love her. But real quick, before we dive into meeting her and hearing about her amazing story, I want to thank you all for being a part of this movement, which is what this podcast really is. This is about a movement to normalize women in the trades, and every one of you who joins us each week and is part of these live streams and watches them later and listens to the podcast later, all of you are a part of normalizing women in the trades so that one day there is not a need for podcasts like this, where we don't have to have a gender qualifier on careers, where it's just careers and they don't have genders, and nobody bats an eye when you say you're a female mechanic or a male hairdresser or whatever it is that careers just don't have genders. So thank you for being part of that. And of course, a big thank you to our sponsor of this week's episode, DriveTime. If you're not familiar with them, go check them out. They are a reseller of cars, but they also rehab all of those cars in-house, which means they create a ton of jobs for young people getting into the trades, for exploring the trades, whether it's detailing or body work or paint work or mechanical work that you're interested in. DriveTime has a place for you. So if you're looking for a new car or a new career or a new place to call home, you definitely want to check them out. The link is down in the description below. And with that, without further ado, I'm going to bring on tonight's guest because I am very excited to meet her, and I'm sure you guys are too. Miss Grace Claudio. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited.
So am I.
Did I pronounce your last name right? I realized I should have asked that before we went live.
Yeah, Claudio's fine. I mean, there's a little bit of an accent in there, but you're good. That's the usual how people pronounce it. Fine.
Beautiful, beautiful. So for those of you watching who know me, I am a New York girl. I am a BMW girl, and I got my start at Manhattan BMW. And Grace is a New York girl who's working at Manhattan BMW. So I'm stoked about this. This is gonna be a fun episode, guys. So, before we get into like what's going on in your world currently and what your life looks like currently, I want to know how you got to where you are, because I'm reading about you as I'm getting ready for this episode.
Right.
And you're a master mechanic, you're high voltage certified. On the side, guys, she's also acting and modeling because, she doesn't have anything else to do with her spare time. She's also taking over the world in like 14 other ways. She was an amateur boxer back in her life before becoming a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
So you do a lot. I'm curious how you got to being a mechanic.
Yeah. So oh man. So when I was 15 years old, my whole thing was to become an actress, right? I wanted to act. I loved movies. But at the time, like every decision I ever made was to make my dad proud. Mm-hmm. So that was like my main thing. And I felt like acting wasn't going to cut it, even though it was something I was passionate about. But I also had anger issues at the time because, growing up in the Bronx, you can't be, cheery and smiley. You have to have like that resting bee face, like in order to survive. So I also had anger issues. So I decided to box, and my dad was super stoked about it. He wasn't happy about it at first, but then he kind of was like, all right, let's just try it and let's do it. And of course, I was the only girl in the gym at the time.
Yeah.
And my coach didn't even want to take me because I was a woman. But I had to talk him into it, and then he ended up coaching me. And then I started doing it from age 15 to 20. And I was just like making a name for myself in the amateur boxing world, and sparring all the guys because there were a lot of females. So I already got the atmosphere of being around men all the time, and people like belittling you and thinking that you can't do it, and that was just motivation and more fuel for the fire.
Yeah.
And so I competed in a number of amateur shows, and I competed in the Golden Gloves. I competed in the ringside. I competed in a bunch of tournaments, and then in the hopes of being pro. And then my father passed away when I turned 20, and I had to start working. So AutoZone was my first official job.
It's just by chance.
It's just I needed it to because I was already going to start. I was already going to school for automotive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was boxing and going to school for automotive already.
Okay.
And how that happened was my sister went to Apex to go in for automotive because she wanted to learn how to fix her own car.
Okay.
And I remember her coming home one day. This is when I was in high school.
So this is older sister?
Yes, my older sister. And she just looked like so cool with her coveralls and her Tims, and I was like, ooh, I like that look. So I just started going through her textbook, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna just go for it. I'm gonna learn how to do this in college.
Nice.
And I just took it and ran.
I love it. So now, is your older sister also in the automotive field, or did she just take the classes to learn about her own stuff and then that was it?
Yeah, so she went in with the intent of finishing, but financially she couldn't finish. So I just took up what from where she left off, pretty much.
Okay.
So I kind of I pretty much stole her dream, I guess.
Oh.
I mean, I still show her a lot of stuff, and like she calls me about stuff on her car and stuff like that.
I love it.
But yeah,
it's so funny to me. I'm like imagining this young little you who's like a boxer. So clearly like a badass, right? And you're competing, you're making a name for yourself. And yet your sister wearing mechanics clothes, you're like, yeah, that's a cool look. I want that. Like
I want that too.
Kind of ironic.
Cool. Yeah.
I love it. What made you pursue boxing? I mean, you said you had anger issues, but like what drew you to boxing, and especially back, in the day when you were doing this and there weren't many women, there definitely weren't a lot of female role models in either of these career paths.
Right.
What made you say, I'm going to try boxing. I'm going to go down this path and I'm going to convince the people in my life to accept it.
So it's pretty funny. I would have to say it was the movie Girl Fight with Michelle Rodriguez.
Nice.
That was it for me. I was like, and I love Michelle Rodriguez already. So that movie kind of like inspired me to just do it. And and I've been doing it since then. So
amazing.
That was my spark for the, you know what, I'm gonna box, because I was actually I was going to try out for the guys baseball team.
Okay.
But then I boxed instead, which I am so happy that I did, because I absolutely love it.
So you were just all about like making a way for yourself somewhere where male dominated, where women weren't welcome.
That was my thing. Like, I don't know what it was. I mean, obviously I wanted to make my father proud, and I wanted to impress my dad. Like, my dad was my whole world. So that was all I wanted to do, was like do stuff that would be like, women can't do that. I'm like, you'll see. And I'll do it better. So
of course. So you said dad at first wasn't happy with his little girl going into boxing. What made him come around to it?
I guess just the notion of like me doing something different, like outside of the box, I guess. I don't know, because my dad was a high school counselor.
Okay.
So he dealt with students all the time. But he knew that like I would be able to hold my own if I knew how to box as well, because he raised me tough already. But to be able to box, because he couldn't teach me how to box, obviously. Yeah. He finally accepted it. My mom never did, though. She never went to any of my fights.
Oh, wow.
None of that. No, she was not supportive. And me becoming a tech, she never in her right mind would have thought that I would have done it. She thought that I would get my hands dirty and then be like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, how? You must not know me. Like this.
Right.
But yeah.
Has she come around? Did she ever come around?
With the boxing, I don't think she ever
No.
would. With the automotive, I mean, she obviously she saw that I was going to continue to pursue it and she sees how well I'm doing. But she never, like, whenever I tell her, like, I was like, Mom, being a tech is not safe either. Like a lift could fall on me, or like I've gotten beaten up more working on cars than I did as a fighter. Like it's insane.
It's funny you say that because I when I posted the teaser for this episode, I immediately got a message from my father who said a much safer career path, meaning automotive is a safer career path
Oh,
than boxing. And
absolutely.
my immediate response was not necessarily.
Nope. I done broke my forehead with a pry bar. I done hit myself in the face with a thrust arm. Like
Mhm.
I have multiple, like my hands, I could never be a hand model ever in my life. Like there's no way.
No.
So no. So when I mentioned those things, she's like, she never thought about it. I'm like,
Interesting.
Mom, what do you think I do all day? Like I don't fix cars on a computer.
Were you trying to make her feel better or were you trying to scare her?
I don't know. I was just trying to tell her, like, I mean, boxing was probably a little bit safer, maybe. Just a
So
little bit.
crazy. So
But
crazy.
But yeah, she never thought about it in that way, but it's okay.
All
It's okay.
right. All right. So you're going to automotive school. You're still boxing, but now you need to get a job. So you go to AutoZone. You get a job as a parts person. Tell me what school
Yeah.
was like.
What school was like? Okay.
Yeah.
It actually I was really blessed that the instructors that I had at Bronx Community College were amazing. Like I
Nice.
never felt like they didn't want to teach me because I was a girl. It wasn't I was a student
That's
at
awesome.
that point. Like it wasn't like I never had to worry about any of that. Obviously I had to worry about the guys trying to get with me, granted. But I wasn't about that. Like, I went there to learn, and that was it. Like, I didn't care whether I made friends or not. Like, that wasn't what I was there for. Because I knew, obviously, us as women in the automotive field, we have something to prove no matter what. We have
Yes.
to we have to study extra hard. We have to work extra hard. We have to stay late. We have to do all these things to for people to take us seriously,
Yeah.
right? And it sucks, but that's the reality of the situation. And I just wanted to be the best that I could be. And I knew nothing about cars. Granted, I had no driver's license. I knew absolutely nothing. So I knew I had to start from zero. So yeah, school was not bad, which I was really, really, really thankful for.
I'm curious because I mean, so you had a career in fighting, clearly, or you
Mhm.
had a path in fighting.
Right.
And then you kind of sound like you went into the automotive industry kind of the same way I did, kind of with this attitude of like, this is going to be a fight, this is going to be a battle. Do you feel like it's been as much of a battle as you thought it was going to be? Or was the anticipation worse than the reality?
So I knew I was gonna have to go in fighting no matter what. And till this day, I still fight for a lot of things that I should have or get or whatever the case may be. Which is crazy because I've been working for BMW for 14 years. But it is what it is. Like, I mean, as a boxer, I feel like it kind of molded me already and it prepared me for what was gonna come. So it was kinda like God knew what he was doing, like, putting me into boxing and then automotive because, like,
Mhm.
it already put me in the mindset of, like, I know people are gonna doubt me, and I don't care because 'cause I'm gonna prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And already having a fighting background, my body was already in shape, my mind was already in shape, yeah, obviously, everything's gonna be emotional, in certain situations, but I was already equipped as a fighter because I already had to deal with the whole thing of like, oh, she's a woman, she's not gonna make it, she's trash, da da da, this is not, she's not gonna last long, blah 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 blah. I already had that when I started in automotive. So
Right.
like people were like, she's not gonna last a week. Even my own mentor that I spoke to this day was like, "I didn't think you were gonna make it that long." I'm like, "Well, gee, thanks. I mean, you were just my mentor. Like,
Appreciate it. Thank
you
you.
would have had a little bit more faith." Like, you know what I mean? But,
So between boxing and automotive,
mhm.
was one worse than the other when it comes to being a woman in a male dominated field?
I mean, it's hard to say for me just because of the way I am. Um, like, I don't care, like, about what other people think, and I do have thick skin, thanks to my father. But it all depends on the situation. Like,
Mm.
fighting, it was kinda hard to find fights, which really sucked because you trained your butt off, for these fights, and then sometimes the girl will pull out or they don't have somebody your weight class, so it was hard to find fights, and we would have to fight women that had more fights. Like, so I'm gonna give you a scenario.
Yeah.
You're first starting out and you only have, like, 1 fight, and there's only 1 girl that's your weight class, but she has, like, 20 plus. So she has way more experience than you. So at the same time, it's kinda not fair, but there's also no women.
Right.
So you have to take the fight, which was fine because I didn't care. I was gonna fight whoever and whoever would go in the ring. But I guess it was difficult in that standpoint. In the automotive, it was more of like, just trying to prove myself, which was like that in the boxing world anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so like for me, it wasn't as hard, at least for me.
Yeah. Wasn't
Um,
as a big difference.
yeah, it wasn't a big difference because, like I said, boxing kind of already molded me
Yeah.
and kind of prepped me, not knowing that I was going to be a tech.
Right.
Um, so I kind of got what I got in the boxing world, in the automotive world. So it was like I already knew kind of how to gauge it and navigate.
I love it. I love
Mhm.
it. All right. So I love it. You definitely showed them all. Yes, indeed. And continue to.
Amen.
So you're working at AutoZone now. How was that your first job in the industry? How
Yes.
was that?
So I want to backtrack. I'm sorry. It
Yeah.
was it was I was working at the independent shop first.
Oh, okay.
But I was as I was an intern, so I wasn't getting paid.
Ah,
Um, but that's why I had to leave and go to AutoZone. So I'm sorry. I have to back.
gotcha.
I did
Yeah.
get an internship at Master Mechanics in Yonkers. That was
Okay.
literally the only shop that would take me. And I wasn't asking for any pay. I just wanted hands-on training.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? We have an industry that's hurting for people so badly, and yet
Mhm.
here's somebody saying, "I am willing to work for free," and
Yes,
still nobody will give you a chance.
exactly. And I was blessed that Master Mechanics took me in. And I was working with them for about a year. So I learned a lot of like, and they also had like a body shop attached to it. So I kind of learned some body shop stuff.
Nice.
Um, so they took me in. I was working with them for about a year, and that was really fun. They helped me out a lot, and they took the time to teach me certain things, and so I was really blessed in that sense too. Like I
Yeah.
went to that shop. It wasn't like, oh, we have a girl here, so let's just have her as eye candy. No, it wasn't like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Thank God it wasn't like that because that would have been terrible. But because of them, I got that hands-on experience that got me accepted into BMW STEP. So
Gotcha.
after that, I couldn't work with them anymore because I needed to get paid after my
And they
father.
weren't willing to pay you after a year of
I
working.
mean, I don't think I ever asked.
Interesting.
I think I was just like, I need to find a job because I wasn't the type to like expect anything or
Mhm.
assume. So I was like, I just need a job. And I literally applied for AutoZone like at 10 o'clock at night and got an interview the next morning. Like
Okay.
it was crazy. So I started working at AutoZone for a while and it was an experience. I didn't work parts counter, but when I did work parts counter because we were low on staff, the guys like that were asking for parts would ask for a guy to help them. And I'd be like, you sure about that? I'm like, okay, I got you. So I'll go to the back and then I'll have the guy that's helping them call me to help him figure it out. So I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. So no, you don't need me. You'll figure it out. Just go back to doing what I was doing.
I love it. I love it. So what was your role with AutoZone if you weren't working?
I was an associate, like,
Okay.
I would do, like, stocking the parts and, like, front and facing, um,
Okay.
helping the customers find where anything is in the
Gotcha.
store, but then I started doing, like, they had me doing store setup and like because they wanted AutoZone to all look the same.
Mhm.
So they had me going to different AutoZones and just refurbishing everything, like making it the way they all want it, uniform.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and then the last month that I was there, I actually built the store from scratch.
Oh, cool.
Before I went to Metro STEP. So,
Okay.
so yeah. So at least I got the independent shop, I got the AutoZone, and now, now dealer. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You got a little like smattering of everything and
right.
kind of experience different sides of the industry too. Uh,
Mhm.
did you ever consider staying on that career path, or were you like set on going back to the mechanical side?
For AutoZone?
Yeah, like
No,
you
no.
consider staying with them? No.
AutoZone was just so I can make some type of money to help my mother out.
Okay.
But thank God that my professor at BCC recommended me to BMW Metro STEP. That was the only reason I ended up at STEP. Like had it not been for them, I don't know. Maybe I would be at Master Mechanics. I don't know, but I am at Metro. I went to Metro STEP, and
Okay.
it was great. But it was because of my instructors from
That's
BCC.
awesome. It's fantastic that you had good instructors that were willing to take you in and that they like continue to like reach out to you with opportunities and convince you to do that and push you to go further. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, because they knew my drive. They knew I wanted to be a tech. Like it wasn't like I just did it because I thought it was cool. No,
Right.
I actually enjoy fixing things.
Yeah.
And I was a great student, so it wasn't like I was slacking. And that's what they wanted, somebody with good attendance.
Yeah.
Um,
Did
so
you have a thing for BMW first, or like what made you choose BMW?
well, literally it was because I got recommended.
Okay.
I was never a car person. Like I I was like, "Oh, I like this new car, this car, blah, blah, blah." No, that was not me. That I just knew I liked fixing things.
Yeah.
And then that just kind of like opportunity kind of presented itself, and I just never looked back, and I love it, enjoy
Nice.
it.
Do you consider yourself a car person now?
I'm a car person of like I like to fix things OEM. Like I'm not the type to like put in like, oh, I'm gonna put a tune and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. That's not no, that's not me. I just
Yeah,
enjoy fixing cars in general. Like not necessarily. Yes, absolutely. I love BMW because that's the brand that gave me the opportunity.
sure.
But I'll fix any car.
I love
Like
it.
a car is a car. So
Nope, that you're my kind of technician as well, 'cause people are always asking me, like, "Did you hear about that new car that came out or this, that, or the other thing?" And they're, like, rattling off specs. I'm like, "I don't know. I don't actually
yeah,
pay
no.
attention to any of that." Like, I just like fixing them. I don't
Just
care.
something broken and I can fix it leaves fixed, like, that's all I
Yeah,
care about. I
yeah.
don't care if it goes 0 to 60 and point 0.2 whatever, I doesn't matter to me.
Right?
Is it gonna fix your check engine light? No, not really.
Yep. Yep, pretty much, pretty much. I love it.
Yeah,
So, for anybody who doesn't know what the BMW STEP program is, explain that and where you went and what that was like.
absolutely. So, at the time when I went, there were 2 different programs. There was BMW Metro STEP, which was the one that I attended, and then there's BMW regular STEP. So, the
Okay.
Metro STEP was a coordination of 2 weeks in the shop that you were hired at, and then 2 weeks at training, which I
Oh,
absolutely love and I prefer. The
nice.
other one was just straight training. So sit
That's
that
the one I did.
yeah, that's the one that okay, I figured.
Yeah.
And how was that? I mean, obviously, I'm sorry that I'm going off topic, but
No, you're
I wanna
totally
to
fine.
know
So,
how your experience was with
yeah.
stuff and
So I did the 7 it was like 7 months, I think,
okay. Yeah.
intensive, and then I don't think they had Metro Step yet at the
Mhm.
time, like, that wasn't an option when I went. It was, like I think it came, like, a year or 2 after I graduated, so I
Mhm.
didn't really have a choice, but,
Right.
and it was all I mean, it was all I knew. It was 7 months intensive of classroom slash out in the lab kind of
Yeah.
shop work, but it was
Mhm.
great. I mean, it felt like it gave me a good foundation to I always considered it like my graduate program,
Mhm.
like going to tech school was undergrad, and then going to BMW STEP was my graduate program and like where I specialized.
Right. So did you get recommended as well from your
I applied for it.
okay,
So it was I think I don't remember if we had to have a recommendation or not.
okay.
But you had to have like your grades had to be so good at such a level and your attendance had to be at such a level and all of that to even be considered to
Right.
apply.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they were the strictest program to get into for sure.
Oh, no, I had, like, 3 interviews I had
Yeah,
to do before I officially got in.
yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty aggressive, but
yeah.
made it, so, I mean
Yay! It's all that matters. It's all that matters.
exactly, so, yeah. So how was your experience, though, like, in school? Like, was it, like were the instructors very supportive or,
The
like
instructors were supportive. Yeah, I definitely more so than my general like technical school was. Like
Mhm,
when I went to Universal Technical Institute, and the instructors there were hit or miss. Some of them were great, some of them were not great.
yeah, kind of the
And
experience I had with Apex too, so,
yeah, but we
yeah.
had 3 teachers at STEP.
Mhm.
So, there was a really good chance that it was going to wind up being not good teachers and you'd be stuck with them for 7 months.
I wonder if you had Jan Cougar.
I did. You had
Oh,
Jan?
you had him, yeah, I had him.
I love Jan.
He was awesome, like, he was super sarcastic, so, like, you could never tell whether he was serious or not.
Yes.
It was
So we have
awesome.
to paint a picture of Jan for everybody because Jan is like a 7 foot tall,
German.
large German man with the accent and everything.
Absolutely.
And
Like, he was
first day of class, did he like just scare the crap out of everybody? Like he came in to scare us the first day of class.
oh, yeah, absolutely, and then they gave us, like, this sheet of, like I cried so much in step, like, I was like, "I'm not gonna pass this th what in the world?" Like, because BMW is such a totally different animal. They want you to, like obviously, at first, I knew nothing about I was working at an independent shop, so I was like
Right.
Hondas and Toyotas and whatever, and then they're like, "Oh, well, you gotta match the E designation with the, motor type." I'm like, "What? Are you trying to
What?
break me day 1?" But,
Yes.
I mean, I
Yes,
guess
they
they
were.
did. Absolutely, and they were dropping people.
Yes.
So I'm like I would come home and my mom would be like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do. I wanna pass this so bad." And then oh, man, it was, like, a lot. Boxing was blood, sweat, and tears, but so was automotive, man.
Yep.
Joke.
Yep. Yeah, and Jan was great because he, like, reveled in that, like, scaring the crap out of people,
Mhm.
and then if you made it through, he was the biggest teddy bear
Oh,
and, like, the
absolutely.
biggest proud papa of all of his students, and
Mhm.
I'm still in touch with him to
Oh,
this day, but
that's awesome.
yeah.
I always ask about him when I go back for training.
Aw.
Forget where I don't know that I don't remember where is he now?
I think he's still in North Jersey.
Oh,
It's been a couple of years since we've spoken, but yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually always, ask about him when I
Yeah.
go. But there's so
He's
many new
great.
instructors now. Like, they've been trying so hard to get me to be an instructor, and
Really?
I'm not done wrenching, sir. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm not. I mean, maybe eventually because I did work at Bronx Community College for some time being a classroom lab technician, so I was
Nice.
helping the students in the lab with, like, taking engines apart, putting them back together, transmissions, that kinda thing. I was just doing the hands-on training, not the lecture.
Yeah.
Um, so I could totally do it, but I'm not done wrenching.
I hear you. Hear you.
I'm not there
You'll know
yet.
when it's the right time. I think you'd make an excellent teacher, but yeah, you'll know when it's the right time.
But yeah, absolutely. When the time is right, if the opportunity presents itself, I guess.
Yeah.
But right now,
Yeah.
like, I still love what I do. Like, yes, it comes with its headaches and
Ugh.
ugh, it's so annoying. But I still love fixing cars. So I mean,
So in those early days when Step was bringing on the tears and the fears of not passing and not making it, like what kept you going and persevering?
honestly, trying to make a better life for my mom.
Mm.
Yeah, that really, like, motivated me because, I just lost my dad, so, like, I wanted to make sure that my mom was good. I made a promise to my dad that I would take care of her. So, that was my way of, like, I gotta lace them boots up and let's go,
Right. Yeah.
um, and wipe them tears and just keep going. Give
Yeah.
myself a moment and then just that's it. Brush it off.
Yeah. It's always easier to stick with really challenging goals when you have that big like why of why you're
Mhm.
doing it that motivates it definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I love it. All right. So how did you like the going back and forth with this classroom versus shop? Was that like, did that work out well?
I think so for like my experience with it. I absolutely enjoyed it. Like, cause the
Yeah.
thing is I was able to practice what I learned in training on the job, in the real world. Like I
Right.
wouldn't have been like I did all 6 months of training and then I go into the shop and I'm like kind of like in shock because I don't know
Right.
what I'm doing. Like, yes, you go into the lab, but it's not the
Yeah.
same as working on a real live car that you need to fix and bring back to the customer. Like, it's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
So it was nice because also I had a job. Like once I finished step, I didn't have to go look for one. I was already hired, and I was getting paid while I was training and while I was working.
Which is everything. Yeah.
Exactly. So at the time, it was like $12 an hour. But once I graduated as a B Tech, so my bump was like $20 an hour
Nice.
at the time. So it was totally worth it. I absolutely
Yeah.
love Metro STEP.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and then you
Did
got
you
to go.
have to pay for it, or was it once you get accepted,
Well,
it's paid
BMW
for?
Manhattan was paying for me.
Was paying for the school? Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, that's why you go through the interview process. And I had to get interviewed by I had to get interviewed by Connecticut, or like all the metro areas that had BMW, and Manhattan accepted me, which was
Nice.
which was
So
great.
it
And
was Manhattan BMW from the get-go.
yes,
Okay. What year was that? I'm curious.
it was 2010.
Okay, so that was quite a few years after I was there. I was there, and I wasn't there long. I was there in 2002, I think. No,
Okay.
2001.
Okay.
Um and I wasn't there long, and I think because of exactly what you just said, like I did the intensive 7 month and hadn't really been in a shop all that much prior to that.
Mhm.
And then Manhattan BMW, we got to paint a picture for anybody listening. Like Manhattan BMW is, ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
is it still, it was 4 stories high.
Yes, it's still the same building.
Okay. So
Yeah.
4 stories high with a ramp inside the building,
Mm,
2 floors of storage, 2 floors of technicians.
yeah.
Is
I
that
mean,
still the same?
the setup is still the same building. The setup is kind of different now because
Okay.
the construction they
Okay.
renovated.
Okay.
So like I don't know. Were you on the fourth floor when you were attacked?
I think so. Yes.
Okay, because it was before I think third floor was parking, and then the basement
Yeah.
was another area for techs, right?
Yeah, they had 2 floors of techs and 2 floors of parking. I think, or no, 1 floor of parking and then 1 floor of like showroom and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So B3 is parking. Well, not anymore, but was, and then B1 was techs, and then the third floor was parking, and then the fourth floor was techs.
Yeah.
But now
So
the whole
massive.
yeah, no, it is, but it's annoying with the stupid ramps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
when I first started, I crashed at least 4 cars.
Oh my gosh.
Like, not crash, but, like, sideswipe or, like, because it was so tight.
Yeah.
So,
No, it was
like,
horrifying.
it was crazy. I like, the people that I went to go get urine sample thingy, whatever, drug tested,
Right.
like, literally knew my name at that point. It was crazy. I don't know how I didn't lose my job.
I'm impressed. Like, and did people like, did they give you a really hard time? Like, you're the only girl, I presume.
Oh, at the beginning, of course.
And then you're sideswiping vehicles.
Yeah, and then I'm sideswiping cars, and it's like, "Yo, what did I do?" I'm like, "Yo, this is crazy." Like, it was really tight to get cars. Yeah, we had drivers, but, like, dude, it
Yeah.
was yeah, it was interesting.
And then test driving cars in Manhattan
It's
is
still
insane.
yes, it has to be time slotted. If not, you're gonna be in traffic.
Mhm.
It's
So I did not last long because it was too much for me. It was like way too much for me. It
Mhm.
was like coming straight out of step school, diving right into that. It was like, okay, I think I need to go to a smaller dealership. So I wound up going out to Long Island, and I was at Hassel BMW in Freeport.
Oh, okay, I've heard about that one. We had a bunch of guys come over from there.
Yeah, it was not good. But
I
we could talk more about
it's
that.
still not. It's still
Yeah,
not. They're still Hack City Central, but I mean, it is what it is, you know?
yeah. No.
I've heard stories.
I'm sure we're gonna talk more of those stories, but I want to hear how Manhattan was for you aside from sideswiping vehicles, and it's. I mean, there was how many technicians are there?
So when I first started, we had about at least 50.
That's what I thought.
We had
That's
a good amount of techs. As of right now, I think we're at 30, maybe 40, because now they're trying to
okay.
they're trying to reach this quota of having a certain amount of techs. They want quantity, not quality. So yeah, you can imagine what that's like. But we gotta work with what we got, right? So
Interesting,
yeah.
but it's less technicians than you had when you started.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It is less
Okay.
technicians, but with the quality of technicians we had when I first started is totally different. Like people actually cared.
Yeah.
Um, but now it's like "Meh,
Interesting.
get my paycheck, get my cars done and leave." It's not like how it was before. Like before I used to work sometimes depending on like when I was getting the bigger jobs, when I had to fight to get the bigger jobs, like dropping transmissions and engines and doing internal engine work. Um, I would stay till like midnight.
Wow.
Yeah, because that was my first time, and I was like, "I really wanna get this done right," and whenever I work on no matter even now as a master tech, like, I do internal engine work, I'm very meticulous, and I take my time no matter how many times I drop an engine.
Yeah.
It could just be that one time where you miss something and then no, I'm not dealing
Oh
with that.
yeah.
I'd rather do it right
Absolutely.
the first time, every time, like we're supposed to, and
Yeah.
that's just how I work. Whether I take time this week or not, it is what it is, but I know the car's gonna run. Oh, Bogi, I lost your audio.
I'm back. Am I back?
Yes, you're
I accidentally muted it while I was coughing. Sorry about that.
it's all good.
Still fighting this cold, guys.
Um,
It's been nonstop. um, do you feel like that attitude is not matched by your coworkers, or has that changed? I kind of sense that's
oh,
a different.
it's definitely changed for sure, especially, like, with this new generation of technicians that we're getting. It's like the entitlement, it's insane.
Mm.
Insane, like, they don't wanna work, like, they complain that they're working, and I'm like, "Dude, at least you have a job." Like, there's so many people that have no job, like, I don't like, well, you're gonna come because everybody comes to my bay to vent, so I'm like the shop therapist or something, but, um yeah, it's just a different atmosphere. A lot of the techs that started out I mean, that were there when I started out, some of them are gone.
Yeah,
And the ones that are still there, those are the only ones that have the same mentality that I do. Um,
interesting.
and it's not many, but
Interesting.
it's all good.
You've got a former coworker.
Yes, that's my coworker. Hola, Juan.
I love it.
We used to work together.
That's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, it's definitely not the same, but we gotta work with what we got, so and I'm happy to have a job still, and I still enjoy what I
Yeah,
do, so it kinda balances out-ish,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Somewhat.
Are you still the only female at Manhattan BMW or
I
BMW
am,
of Manhattan?
I am,
Have
yeah.
there ever been any other women?
Since I've been there, no, but I know that there was one before me because we went to Bronx Community College together. Her name is Faith.
Okay,
She was there and she went to Metro STEP as well.
okay,
I don't think she was there the full year. I think she left and got another opportunity somewhere else.
gotcha.
And I'm sure I think there were like 2 or 3 before her.
Yeah, I think there was one before her that was after me because I sold my toolbox to her when I moved to Phoenix.
Okay.
So,
The Faith?
and I don't, not to Faith. There was another woman before
Oh,
Faith.
understood,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So,
there's been a couple,
yeah.
um, but I guess I'm the only one that's lasted this
You've been at 14 years, you said?
long. Yeah, 14 years.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
Um,
I was there as a baby.
I know, like,
Grew up
you've grown
there.
up there. You've
Yeah,
totally grown up there.
literally, I've grown up there.
Do you see yourself staying there long term? I mean,
Um,
obviously you have, but
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it has its issues, and every shop does, and I'd rather deal with it there than anywhere else. Because to start from scratch all over again, it's just gonna be annoying. I already have my seniority and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it is, I live in the Bronx. I don't live in Manhattan, so it's still a good commute for me to get to work.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna be realistic, I'm not gonna be able to wrench my whole life. Hence why I dab in different things to see what, where I can go with it. But hey, we'll see what God has for me next. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what if like I am doing women car care workshops in other places and I'm getting paid for it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
the sky's the
absolutely.
limit. I just have to continue to delve in different things and
Yeah.
see where it goes from there.
So I'm glad you brought that up, this women's car care clinic that you're doing, because that's how I first discovered you.
Mm.
I don't know why it popped up in my feed, but the
Well, thank
first
God
post
you did.
I know, I love it. The first post I saw was of yours about the women's car care class at Manhattan BMW, and I was like, "Wait, what? There's a woman at Manhattan BMW, and she's teaching car care classes at BMW Manhattan? Oh my gosh, I have to know this woman."
Mhm.
So how did that come about? Did you bring that to them? Did they come up with it? I'm so curious.
So what happened was, so like the car care workshop thing in general, I got, inspired and the idea from my friend Patrice Banks. She's the one that I knew about that
Awesome.
was doing it, and I've met her and we're friends, and I absolutely love her.
Awesome.
So I was in the works of doing car care workshops here, but I just never got around to it because I was just so busy doing other things.
Yeah.
So what happened with BMW Manhattan was that we were trying to create this women in automotive kind of like group for female technicians in the BMW industry. Um,
Oh,
so that way we have like a space for women to like if we get women in the STEP program, they have somebody they can contact, that kind of thing.
heck
So it
yeah.
was just kind of like a support thing. But it fell through and it didn't happen. So what I suggested was, I just said, listen, if you have any women at BMW Step, just let me know and I'll come through and I'll speak to them and you can give them my contact information and we'll just stay in touch. So what they decided was that they wanted to do this BMW kind of like, I don't know if it was like a promo video, but like they did like this video on me so they can use for when they go for recruitment.
Nice.
So once we did that video, it's on my Instagram. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have.
Yeah. So they did that video. So they want to use that for recruitment. So that way, whenever they go to schools or wherever it is that they go, they can use that video. So then I suggested, I was like, listen, what if I do a car care workshop for women? But I was saying to do it at BMW North America.
Oh, okay.
Because that's who I was talking to, was the people from BMW North America.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll do it over there for the employees. And they were like, oh, what about doing it at your shop? And I was like, I don't know if they're gonna go for it, just because I know how they are. But since the woman that that does the recruitment process, her name is Lisa Krug. I don't know if you've met her before.
I don't think so.
She handles recruitment and stuff like that. She backed me on it. So I was like, all
Nice.
right, so I'm gonna ask because now NA is involved. So I'm sure now they're gonna be more interested. And then that's how it came about. And I
Interesting.
had
That
the
makes so
NA.
much more sense.
Yeah, I had the backing of NA because I'm sure if I had gone to my boss, just being me by myself and telling him like, oh, how about we do a car care workshop for women and for our customers and blah blah blah, they're probably like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then nothing. But because NA was involved,
Gotcha.
you know,
That makes more sense because when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, BMW Manhattan has come around. Like, look at them being supportive of women and like taking initiative." No.
mm, I told you it was gonna, still have to fight. You know what
Okay.
I mean? I mean, thank God that the turnaround was great and we had women that showed up, minus what the weather was like, because it had snowed the day before and then it was super cold the next day. So like we didn't know if people were gonna actually show up.
Yeah.
Um, and I actually had 4 high school students there, which was awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So more
So
of that in the future, hopefully.
yes, so we are planning on doing another one. I did before I did one for Manhattan, I had did one for Porsche.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I had did one for Porsche, because I know the GM there. And he
Very
gave me
cool.
the opportunity. He was like, "Oh, how about you do a car care workshop for women for us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." And it was amazing. We had like 40 women there.
Oh,
It
that's
was
fantastic.
awesome. Yeah, and I had the techs there. They were very supportive. I had the GM there. I had Porsche corporate there. It was like a huge like event. It was awesome.
That's phenomenal to hear.
That was like
I
my
lo
very, very first one.
I
And
love it.
like, yeah, and it lasted longer than it was supposed to because I did so many things.
They always do. My basic car care classes started out as 2-hour classes, and now they are 3-hour classes because I talk too much and
Got
because I
it.
get too excited about showing the women things. So yeah,
Yeah, of course.
totally.
Yeah. No, I totally get it.
So, if I may, like
Mhm,
you've
absolutely.
you've you've had some supportive teachers, you've had some supportive coworkers, you've had the support of BMW North America, and to somebody listening to this, they might say, you know, what is she saying is still a fight, right? What is the challenge? And I think that's one of the biggest things that I struggle with in conveying to folks is what that struggle is of women in this industry and what that looks like. Do you mind talking a little bit about what the challenging parts are and what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. There was definitely challenging times, especially when I started at BMW Manhattan. I had coworkers that would, you know, obviously say that I wouldn't last long, or I had one where he literally made me cry. Like, because like when they ask you questions and you're like put on the spot and like you totally blank.
Mhm.
That's what happened to me. And this particular, and we still work together till this day, and we're like best buds. It's hilarious. But when I first started, he's like, I worked on a car for him because this is when I was still having a mentor.
Mhm.
And my first mentor left. He quit. So I ended up having to just shadow whoever. So him in particular, it was like it was an E30, it was an M5 E39.
Okay.
I remember it because we had to do an inspection and I wasn't great at driving stick. I learned how to drive stick on the job. And I passed the car for inspection. So he puts it on the left. He's like, "You passed this car for inspection?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's good." And he's like, "Really? Is it really good?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, we'll see." So he's like, so he's showing me why it failed, right? He's like, "What is that part right there?" And the tie rods look totally different, right? So I'm like, I blank, and I'm just standing there like, because he already intimidates me from the get. So I'm
Right.
just standing there and I'm just like, I don't know what the hell Greg was talking about. You don't know shit. Da 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 da. Yo, they're just going ham on me.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, I was just taking it. He's like, it's a tie rod. And I'm just like, so I'm just standing there, like, just taking it. And then once he was done, I was just like, I went to the bathroom, just, "Ah," and then I was over it and I went back to work.
I love the universalness of the crying in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh, yes, it was, yeah, he doesn't even remember saying that to me, but the
Interesting.
way I described it, he was like, "Ooh, that kinda sounds like me." I'm like, "Why would I make that up?"
Do you think that was because you were a female or just because you were new? Like, did they treat
Um,
all the new kids that
I
way?
I feel like it could have been because I was new,
Mhm.
um, and just 'cause at the time, the way he was at the time, he just didn't have patience for, like, to deal with that kinda thing, you know what I mean? We know we have sometimes we have some texts that are like that. Um, but it definitely wasn't easy at all, like, to be working there. Like,
Yeah.
just I have people watching you all the time because you're just, like, they're then all or they want you to mess up or, like I'm trying to remember, like, other things that I went through
I
that
think
made it really hard.
that's an interesting point that you just made, and I don't wanna gloss over that, just saying, like,
Absolutely.
sometimes it's that they're in awe, and sometimes it's that they're judging and they expect you to fail.
Yeah,
But whether it's for good or for bad, knowing that everybody is always watching you, like, that in and
always,
of itself,
always.
even if they're supportive people, like, right? Even if it's somebody who's like, "Oh my god, that's so amazing. I'm so supportive of this." They're still watching you, and that's still
Till this
incredibly
day,
stressful.
till this day, it never fails, never fails. And the hardest part about working in the shop, especially for somebody that wants to progress, which was me, I wanted to be a master tech. So I had to fight to get the jobs in order for me to succeed. Like, they just wanted me to be a loop tech, and I'm like, "That's not what I'm here for." I can do tires, brakes, oil changes all day, and that's all they were giving me. Yes, I would make hours, but I'm working twice as hard. I'm staying so much later because, "Oh, somebody wants to go get a haircut, so now I gotta pick up their slack." No, that's not no, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I had to fight to get, like I was telling before, I had to fight to get the bigger jobs,
Yeah.
to get the diagnostic work, to get the work that was gonna help me become an A tech, to become a B tech. I almost took legal action when I went in to get um reviewed for APAY, because I was already doing APAY work.
Mm.
So I had to go. I went, I think, at least 3 times to get APAY, and I almost took legal action because I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, why am I fighting to get APAY 3 times? And
What was their excuse for why you wouldn't get it?
at the time, I think it was like, oh, you don't get enough of this work, or you don't get enough of just a whole bunch of nonsense
Right.
that I was just like, it makes no sense what you're telling me. And we're union, by the way.
I was gonna
So
say that
yeah,
give the context that Manhattan BMW Manhattan is a
yeah,
union shop, so
we are a
that's
shop. Yeah. So I was so close to taking legal action, and then they ended up giving it to me the third time. Fine. When
it's
I went
interesting that, like, this because in union shops that ABC level tax, it's like much more clearly defined than in non-union shops, and so
right,
getting that certification is huge. Just to give folks who are listening that context.
right,
Um, it's interesting that the excuse is that you're not getting enough of this kind of work when it's like, well, who's in charge of giving me that kind of work? Right. I
right,
can't. That was always the thing because I struggled the same way as you. I had to fight for my first big jobs. Right. It's that idea that maybe we're not going to be able to handle the big work,
right,
or when it's a human being dispatching the jobs versus a computer dispatching the jobs, the
right.
human being injects their own stereotypes and their own beliefs and limitations. And so I had to fight for it as well. And my dispatcher's excuse was, well, you don't know how to do that. I'm like, I don't know how to do that because you've never given it to me to do.
Exactly. Like, how are we supposed to work if you don't give it to me? Like,
Yeah.
and we are trying to progress. We don't want to be loop techs. Like, yes,
Yeah.
being a B tech, you're gonna make money all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you don't get the harder jobs, but that's not what I'm here for. I actually want to be a master technician. Like, I want
So
to
how
be
did you
challenging jobs.
So how did you push for that? Like, because I think this is an issue that younger females in the trades and in the automotive industries particularly
Mhm.
encounter a lot, where they get stuck on the lube rack, where they don't get offered opportunities to grow. How did you advocate for yourself to get out of that rut and insist on being pushed further?
So I had to. So one of the foremans was the one that was in charge of dispatching, and I would tell him, like, "Can you give me harder work?" And his thing was like, "Why would I give you harder work when I can give you service cards and you can bang them out?" And obviously, that's not what I'm there for. So I had to go to my service manager and tell him, like, "Listen, he's not dispatching me the work that I want, and this is unacceptable. This and that." I had to, like, keep complaining about it and keep pushing for it. And he knew me when I first started. So he was the mentor for another student that graduated Metro STEP, when we were in Metro STEP together. So he knew who I was, and he was the one that would give me the work. So, like, he would, like, whenever we get an engine job, he would just randomly give it to me. And then my shop foreman would be pissed.
Mhm.
But that's how I had to do it. I had to just go, like, kind of like go behind his back, but like,
Yeah.
listen, Jay, can you, like, hello,
Yeah.
and give me an engine job?
So I'm
So
grateful you had an advocate who was willing to go behind this by his back and allow you to take on those bigger jobs.
yeah.
And now I'm assuming, right, the dispatcher's pissed. I was gonna say, like, absolutely, because you
Mhm.
went behind his back.
How'd you get this job? I'm like, Go talk to the shop manager."
Did you then deal with, like, him like, repercussions? Was he, like, mad and then would punish you for that?
We got into it. They actually had to change me from him,
Oh, wow.
because he did me dirty on a job. And I was like, "If you don't remove me, I will fight somebody. I will fight him." I don't care. I'll lose my job. We will be fighting. He is so lucky that the night before I asked my coworker to call the car up so I can work on it. And he told me beforehand, because if had I gone into work and found out what he did, I would have fought him. I don't care. I would have fought him. I would have threw hands and I would have been fired.
I'm glad that didn't happen.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I kind of would have been at the moment. I would kind of been okay with that at the moment. Like, whatever.
Right. I'm glad it worked out through other ways and not through that way, because you get to come out the victor and not the fired tech. So that's
right. And I'm
great.
still there, and he's still there too. So whatever. But
has he ever come around to you?
No, he does now. Now
Okay.
it's different. But they had to move me to a different team, like a different foreman to dispatch, because I kept telling my shop manager, you need to move me. You need to move me. If you don't move me, and look. So yeah.
All right.
Because I was already complaining that he wasn't giving me the good jobs. So I mean the bigger jobs, I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I just looked at the time. Our hour is gone already. How is that possible? There's so much more to talk about. Dang it.
So much more.
Do I have permission to go like a few minutes over with you?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
I'm yours. You're my V-Day date. Hello.
I know, right? Our Galentine's Day date.
Yes.
For Valentine's Day. I love it. Okay, so I want to touch quickly on some of these other things that you're doing, because you are acting now and modeling, and give a little teaser of what else is happening in your life outside of cars.
So I'm the type of person that I don't like being comfortable. I'm not a fan of being stagnant. I always had to be doing something different. Like, yes, having your daily routine is great and all, but like I became a master tech, and I was like, you know what, let me delve into this acting world that I tried to do at 15-year-old me. And I started pursuing it. It hasn't gone anywhere. Like, I haven't got any paid gigs yet. Like, I've done some background work before COVID. I was in a couple TV shows where one of them I was a state trooper. Another one I was just like a nail tech. So like I was able to be on set, which was so much fun. That is stressful, but it's so much fun and so rewarding. Like I just love it. I love it. And so I just started to delve into that. I would do auditions and stuff like that. Like, I had just recently auditioned for a boxing short film, not so long ago. And I just finished doing, somewhat just finished doing a short film, where I was a serial killer. So, I still do those kind of things. The modeling stuff kind of just fell on my lap too. So like, one of my friends thought I was a model already. So she wanted to do like a content day where we just like take photos and she'll have content, whatever. So that's how that's how the modeling stuff started. And I wanted to do modeling when America's Next Top Model was a thing.
Of course, what girl our age didn't?
Yeah, so like I always wanted to pursue it, but I just never did. I never had the time. So now as a master tech, I was like, you know what, let me delve into these things that I attempted to do before. And yeah, I just do it whenever I have the chance at this point, because after COVID, it kind of like died down, since I'm not SAG. I'm not like SAG-AFTRA. But yeah, I try to do it whenever I can. I'm actually gonna hopefully be starting another short film soon.
Nice.
So these are all not paid gigs, but it's experience.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love doing it, and I can see the difference from when I started till now, and I've definitely grown. So yeah.
When do you sleep? Like, how are you doing all of this?
I find the time. It is exhausting, but I love it. Like, it's different when like you're doing it because it's a job. It's something that I actually enjoy doing. So I do find the time. I do enjoy my sleep. So that's why, like, on the weekends, when I was a CLT, I definitely had no time. Like, when I was working at Bronx Community College, because I was working Saturdays and I was working 2 days during the week at night. So there was no way I could pursue acting at all. But then COVID happened, and then like I was out of that job for like the duration of COVID, and a little bit after. And then that's when I started delving into acting.
I love it.
So yeah.
So my final question for you for the night, and it apropos, I guess, because you've kind of come this full circle where 15-year-old you wanted to get into theater and acting and that kind of stuff. Dad didn't support it. You wind up going down this totally different path. And now you're coming full circle, coming back to 15-year-old you, and doing both of those things. I'm wondering two things. Like, one, first question is do you regret going down this path ever, or are you like glad that this is the path that you wind up going down?
No, I'm absolutely content with the path that I took because I I have so much life experience now that as an actor I can pull from. Had I done it at 15-year-old me, it would be like, what life did I experience? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yes, maybe, maybe I wouldn't have made it at that time, but I was able to experience things that a lot of people haven't. So the way to be a great actor is to pull from life experiences. And I feel like I've experienced so much boxing and in the automotive world. It's like it's uncomparable. Like trying to be in those shoes, you would have to go shadow a mechanic in order to get a tiny taste of what it's like.
Yeah.
And I've actually had that. I had two actresses actually shadow me for
Really?
roles they were going for. Yeah.
Oh, how
Thanks.
cool is that?
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. It was so cool.
That's really very awesome.
Yeah.
So, if you had the opportunity to go back and talk to little baby Grace, little 15-year-old you, or younger even, what are your words of wisdom for her? What are your words of insight?
Oh, 15-year-old me. Um, Obviously, like I said, I have no regrets of the past that path that I've taken, but it would really be like just be more confident in yourself and because even to this day, I don't give myself enough credit. I just do. And I would really just tell her like you're gonna be okay. Like you can be who you are and not have to um uh like show yourself like you have to prove yourself that you're enough. I would definitely tell her that you're enough.
You are 100% enough. You are more than enough. You are flipping phenomenal. And I just, this is something that comes up so often. I love your final words. This is something that definitely comes up often in speaking with women. And I think so many women and men looking at you from the outside would say, here's a woman who was supremely confident. She's forged her own path throughout her life. She's done her own thing. She said, screw you. I don't care what your thoughts are, your opinions are. I'm going to fight for myself and I'm going to stand up for myself, and would assume that you have all of the confidence in the world.
Mhm.
And so then to hear you say that you don't always necessarily give yourself the credit that you deserve, and that you maybe struggle with that sometimes, I think is so valuable for other women to hear.
Mhm.
That, like, if these women that you look up to also sometimes struggle with these things,
Absolutely.
then
It's
it's okay that you do, right? Like, we all do.
absolutely, yeah, that imposter syndrome is a thing. Like
Yeah.
I people would like it's different when I'm hearing it from somebody else, the stuff that I've done, because I usually like if like say for instance this podcast, like I'm so excited about it. And then I'll be excited for like 5 minutes and then I'll on to the next thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's just
Totally.
especially that now I don't have my dad, so I don't have like somebody to go to and be like, "Oh, that's so awesome." Da, da, da. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just different. Like I do things and it's great and other people see it like this big thing. I don't see it that way. I just see
Yeah.
like I'm just super humble that way and I thank God that I'm like that because there's so many people out there that like don't support other women. You understand what I'm saying? So we're fighting in the male side and the female side and it totally sucks.
It sure
So that's
can.
why you just have to fend for yourself, and you just have to just do it, and
Yeah.
that's it, and then see where it goes, and then, you know, go from there.
Yeah. We just keep plugging away, and we keep trying to find other like-minded women, and help and share their stories, and I know that you have a ton of fans and supporters. The comments have been fantastic. I've been seeing some of them out of the corner of my eye here. Folks are loving you. If you've not met Grace before, definitely go check out her social media, because she's got some really cool videos and content, and you're going to want to keep up with what she's got going on. You are an inspiration to many. You are fearless and awesome, and I'm so proud of everything that you're doing. And I'm excited to continue to watch your story unfold. And we are staying in touch more
Yes, we
after
are.
this, 100%. So
Awesome.
thank you so very much for joining in.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you all for joining and spending your time with me. It's really appreciated.
Absolutely. Folks at home, thank you guys for spending part of your evening with us. I hope you enjoyed meeting Grace as much as I did. Like I said, all of her contact information will be down in the description below, so make sure you go check her out. And of course, pay our sponsors for this episode a visit as well. They do phenomenal work, both in front of the scenes and behind the scenes, to support women in the trades. And we're all about supporting companies who support other ladies doing this kind of work. So appreciate them, and I appreciate all of you for being a part of this journey to normalize women in the trades and to celebrate the women who build, fix, and make the things that make the world go round. Make sure you come back next week. Every Monday, we have an archive episode, and every Wednesday, we have a new live episode. We've got another fantastic guest lined up for you next week. So until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to one another, and we'll see you later.